You're listening to the Bromsgrove Standard Podcast because you have impeccable taste.
Very warm welcome to this week's Bromsgrove and Droitwich Standard Podcast with me, Tristan Harris, and I've got Claire with me as well. How are you?
Hello, I'm very excited to be on your show.
No guests this week?
I don't often get to be on your show,
No,
you see.
not now, because we get loads of guests.
I know, you're always having guests, so I'm the lucky one today.
Dr. Jonathan Leach in a few weeks, one of the PTSD experts who was honoured with the Queen's New Year's honours, so he's coming in, so that's
Amazing.
good. So we have got people in the pipeline, but we're just going to talk through a few news stories this week. Now, this was the one I mentioned to you last week that I couldn't yet release because I hadn't got around to writing it, and you were very excited by it. A new heat network which could be established in Bromsgrove has the potential to reduce the heating carbon footprint of some of the town's public buildings long term by 30 to 60%.
This is amazing. This is like the future. It's happening right in front of our eyes, isn't it?
It is, and it's at one of your old places of it's at Bromsgrove School.
Yeah.
Now, bear with me because I'm no scientific expert, so I'm going to try and talk you through this. It is in layman's terms. Hopefully, me talking about it in a simple way will make it.
Well, I
easy
hope
for
you
people
are
to
making it
understand.
simple because in my mind, I'm imagining Bromsgrove School like sitting on top of a volcano or something.
No, but this was. I had such an issue yesterday because I was talking to the officers about this. And they were like, please be careful what picture you use. I don't want you to use any space agey metallic silver thing, like some of the buildings can be these days. So I found one called Bun Hill Energy Centre, which is in Islington in London. And it's lovely. It's a lovely little wooden building with a wooden tower. And because obviously, as you know, the historic buildings in Bromsgrove School, if this all does happen, we're not sure if it will happen yet, but because the viability test has been done. But if it does happen, then it's going to need to be in keeping with Bromsgrove School.
So what is it though, Tris?
Right. Here we go. This is what happens. The idea is they're going to drill a borehole to start with to test to see if it's viable. Now, that could be because the ground might be heavy clay or they might not be able to get down as easy. They've got to go 200 metres underground. That takes you to an aquifer where the earth naturally warms the water, and that's going to be pumped out through insulated pipes, heated up a little bit more. I think they will have to use fossil fuels for that process, but then through a network of insulated pipes, this hot water will go to a number of public buildings. The ones they've got on the list so far are Bromsgrove School, of course, naturally, because it's on their site, South Bromsgrove High, Parkside and Meadows Schools, the Princess of Wales Community Hospital, the Council House at Parkside, some retirement living accommodation, care homes, and the Howe College campus. Now, the beauty of a heat network is, and an energy centre, which is what this will be, is once you've put people initially on the system, they don't want to just, if people have got boilers that have still got like 20, 25, 30 years left of wear in them, I don't know how long a boiler lasts, but if they've still got that amount of tread left in them, let's say, what they'll do is they'll wait till those boilers come to the end of their shelf life, and then they could add them to the.
This is genius.
To the pipes. Now, one of the buildings mentioned was Asda, but I think Asda have just. This was said in a public meeting, so I'm not breaching any confidence or anything. I think Asda have just had a new heating system which has got like 11, 15 year shelf life. So, if this was to go ahead, Asda might be one of the ones that come on board as well.
So once it's done, though, Tris, is it basically like free energy then?
Well, obviously they're going to have to heat the water,
but it's using
and they're going to have to maintain
natural.
it. It's using the earth's natural. You can get them nowadays, can't you? You can get these taps in private homes. My cousin, I don't know if she listens to this, but my cousin's got one. And it was incredible. It's just instant hot water.
What do you mean?
And so it's a tap.
Yeah.
And then when you turn it on, it just boiling water comes out the tap. There are these systems.
From the earth's
I think that's how they do that as well. Yeah. So they do it. It's massive in Scandinavian countries, which of course are leading the world when it comes to climate change. And it's just instant hot water. I think it might be costly to put the units in and stuff, but you literally get. I mean, I drink enough coffee as it is. Can you imagine if I had instant boiling water? I'd be doubling my caffeine intake because you wouldn't have to boil a kettle again. You just and for washing up and for veg, if you're doing your veg, you just do it. It is dangerous, obviously, for kids. You have to make sure because it is really instant boiling water. So that's what happened. So I think the second heating process, the already warm water wouldn't take as much heat as heating from scratch. So they heat the already warm water to about 90 degrees, I think they said. Then they put it through the insulated pipes, and then that goes round the buildings as they can use still, a lot of them will still be able to use their current heating systems. It will just be that the water's coming from this energy centre rather than from their own boiler. So you would do away with boilers completely. Nobody would have to have an individual boiler. I don't know what it would be like if it broke down or there was something wrong. Obviously, the whole town would go out then. But that's the general idea. So the buildings on the network would have all the heat they require. And as I say, with regard to Kath Manning, who's a genius from Bromsgrove District Council, she's the climate change officer. Years ago, we would never have had a climate change officer, would we? So that just shows you how far we've come. But she was saying that the heat of buildings with regard to the carbon footprint or decarbonisation, that's one of the hardest things to do. And this is the best way of doing it.
I love it.
So the next stage is dig the borehole, see if it's viable. That's going to cost 100,000 for the borehole, 250,000 for the initial exploration. Then the money there is still, some of it's hopefully going to be coming from BDHT and the Health Trust, because obviously they're going to have buildings on there. Bromsgrove School have given up 10 grand as well, and the council as well. Most of it, though, is going to come from the HNDU, the Heat Network Development Unit, I want to say.
And you said that without even looking down. I know,
yeah. So I don't think I copied that bit out of the story. So that's like, obviously the government. It's in the government's best interest to support these schemes. So this would cost between 15 and 20 million pounds to implement, but obviously the long-term benefits. It also brings jobs to the area because people are going to have to build this energy centre and you're going to have all different contractors. The viability, more will be known about whether they can do the viability project in April, start of the financial year. If it is viable, it's going to take a year for the testing and the detailed development and how it's going to work before anything else is put in the ground. Then I think we're probably looking at 2022 for work to start on it. But, you know, when people are talking about carbon neutrality, they're always talking about 2050, 2040, 2030. So I reckon 2022 would not be bad to get a scheme like this in place.
Amazing.
Now, it does sound exciting to us, obviously, but apparently Nottingham, Southampton and Birmingham as well. And Redditch has even got one, I think. I think Redditch has got one with the Abbey Stadium, with the with the crematorium.
Yeah.
As you know, if you've seen my stand-up, you'll know. The Redditch has already got one centred around there somehow. But Birmingham's one is incorporated into Birmingham New Street Station, so you wouldn't even notice it was there, because obviously that vast building.
But I'm just fascinated. I've never heard it before. Like, I understand the crematorium is using that heat to heat elsewhere, but I find this just fascinating because it's using the Earth's core.
It is using the Earth's core.
Yeah, and it just seems to be the future, doesn't it?
It stops you getting directly to Australia.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise you could tunnel straight through.
You'll frazzle. You'll be pretty frazzled when you come out. The other thing as well is this could have long-term economical benefits, because Bromsgrove District Council and, say, Bromsgrove District Housing Trust, say Bromsgrove School paid into the scheme, they could buy partners on board to help cover the cost, but then they could effectively be an energy centre. So they could take money off the big boys. I won't mention any companies, but we all know the big energy suppliers. Take money off them and actually become like an energy provider, and that will give you a steady stream of income going forward. It's
amazing news. I love this story. Are you going to keep us informed?
We're going to keep you informed. I'm going to have a little journey down the borehole, see what's down. No, I'm not really. Claustrophobia. If you've got any views on this, editor at bromsgrovestandard.co.uk, editor at droitwichstandard.co.uk, or any climate change issues, because our letters page needs filling every week, folks. It is a bit full this week, but I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So please, get in touch with us on any subject, really, if you want to have your say. Now, this is exciting news out today. Homes across Bromsgrove District have been snapped up so fast that the town finished the third highest in the UK for having the quickest residential property sales.
Well, it is one of the best places
in
the
world
world
to live. It is one of the best places to live. And on average, last year, a home, according to getagent.co.uk, the average time for a home to sell, or so a house or a flat, private sales market, 197 days in Bromsgrove. That put them third behind Torfaen. I don't know how you pronounce that. It's in Wales. Torfaen.
It's there with a Welsh accent, Tristan.
Torfaen in Wales. They take 193 days to sell there. And then we've got Nuneaton and Bedworth, which is back in the Midlands, 191 days there. The data looked at the total average time to sell a home throughout 2019 from the first day it was listed right through to when it was marked for sold by the Land Registry. So that would have been when it was completed. So Bromsgrove 197 days, Torfaen in Wales 193, and Nuneaton and Bedworth 191. What happened was North Worcestershire fared well as well. The average selling time for residential property in the UK overall was 256 days. So Bromsgrove's beaten that by 59 days. And then 295 days in London from first listing to completion. North Worcestershire fared really well. Redditch finished 12th with an average of 209 days, but Bromsgrove still beat you. And just thought I'd slip that in. And then Wyre Forest 15th with 212. The expert from getagent.co.uk, the founder and CEO, Colby Short, he said the result of the election spurred a property market revival because the market had been quite slumpy, if that's the word, sluggish, I suppose, because of obviously the Brexit uncertainty. And he said because of that, he's predicting a prosperous 2020.
Well, I had a meeting with some of the estate agents last week, and they're all saying already people are starting to list their houses again, and it's all moving. So hopefully, getting Brexit done is going to have one good benefit at least.
Well, it will be getting done on Friday.
Yeah, well, we hope. You never know.
Not done,
you never
done.
know.
Oh, yeah, the European Parliament are voting on it today, but it's supposed to be a bit of it's supposed to be unlikely that they would turn that down. But so we say get Brexit done, but get the process of Brexit started, really, because we've got obviously this transition period at the end of the year. But you all know about that anyway, because it's been non-stop on our other media outlets with Robert Peston and Laura Koonsberg with our nightly updates and stuff. Yeah. So you all know about that anyway, so we don't need to go into Brexit here. Plans are being made for Bromsgrove to have its first LGBTQ plus Pride Festival.
I read this on your website, and you had so many amazing comments, and people are really getting behind this.
People are really up for this because a Pride committee has been set up by resident Ocean Riley, who is eager to get the project off the ground. We got to start off small with a Pride theme market in the town centre. That's what it's thought it's going to start off with. But sometimes, if you get enough support, you might be able to get a little bit more than you want. And that's going to build up to, hopefully, a full-on festival and parade. The next committee meeting is going to be held at the Hub, which is at Bromsgrove Baptist Church. I think it's like in the basement of the Hub, at 6:30pm on Tuesday, this Tuesday, February the 4th. And if you go to the Bromsgrove Pride Facebook group, you can find out more about it. So you can get yourself there. And I think the funny thing was or brilliant thing was that when we put this story out, me and Harry were just sitting there watching their Bromsgrove Pride group, and all the members are increasing. We thought, it's having a positive impact. So that's good. So it's got more people on the Facebook page, and they will be able to go along and take your ideas along, because obviously when something's new, that's the best time to get involved in something, and you can help shape it. And if you've got any great ideas for Bromsgrove Pride, then please go along. And
can I just say, I love the name Ocean Riley. He sounds like he should be a movie star or something.
Yeah, they sound really nice. Harry spoke to them, so I don't know them personally, but
hopefully we'll get them on the pod.
Real good person, and we could get them on the podcast.
That'd be amazing.
Get them on the podcast. Fantastic news. At the same time, it was a crazy Thursday because I was going to get the energy story for last week, and I was going to, go big on that. And then Harry told me about this LGBTQ plus thing, the Pride event. So I was like, we'll go for that. And then I spoke to the police about another issue. It was about a driver who'd driven their car into a hedge in Bromsgrove. It was like an elderly driver. And I just wanted to check whether just some details. I rang the police and they said, while you're on, teenagers ran amok at the multi-storey car park at Bromsgrove Asda, pushing trolleys down stairwells into glass doors and even throwing trolleys off the top level of the multi-storey.
Oh, no.
Which is, the consequences of that don't bear thinking about, because if there's I don't know what time of day this was, but if there was shoppers about or children, or you can't blindly just throw a trolley off because a trolley falling from height could literally kill someone. So that's what PC Anna Harding was saying. She was saying this antisocial behaviour will not be tolerated, and also she's urged parents to know where their children are and what they're up to, because I mean, what starts out as a bit of antisocial behaviour could end up in a manslaughter charge, couldn't it? If it's if somebody was to get hit by a trolley. They have got CCTV pictures. They are reviewing them, and they will be taking them around the schools to identify. Now, head teachers and teachers always amaze me, because I always wonder, when I take my girls to school, the head teacher always knows every single kid's name, and you're like, how do you do that? There's like 200 kids in your school. So you can guarantee that when these CCTVs is trawled around the schools, I think they'll be caught.
And they also remember you years later. I bumped into an old school teacher who taught me 25 years ago, and she was like, "Hello, Claire, how are you?" And I was amazed. I mean, it's just incredible, isn't it? They're special people, our teachers.
They are. And it's normally in the pub, isn't it, when you're half cut and you don't want to see anyone like that. No, it's all good. And who could blame teachers being in the pub? It's a stressful day, only on a Friday. Anyone with any information on the ASDA antisocial behaviour or any other antisocial behaviour, 101 or Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. Now we're going to go on to the biggest issue that's affected our readers for a long, long time, the 144 bus. My letters page is bulging this week with it is indeed. We normally 2 weeks ago, I didn't even have a letters page. I had one letter, and I was thankful for it, from the Green Party, from Bromsgrove and Redditch. And I thought, I can't really run one letter. We could put there is various other letters, like some celebrities promoting good causes and things, but in the Bromsgrove standard and the Droitwich standard, you don't want to put letters like that. We want local people.
Do you mean local, like people who actually post you a letter, or can they?
No, they can email them.
Okay, they can email each other. Okay.
I think probably letters that come through the post are probably about 1 in 20, 1 in 30 now, which, because you have to type them in then, don't you? Or sometimes people send you a picture, or like, if you got a PDF, that's fine because you can copy and paste the text. But some people, if they scan it in, they scan it as a JPEG. So you've got to print it off then and then type it out. So we've had all these letters. The 144, a new timetable's come in this week, and we've spoke about this before, haven't we? There was 27 buses going from Bromsgrove to Birmingham every single day, and 27 coming back from Birmingham to Bromsgrove every day. That's now been reduced to 15 going one way and 12 the other, so it's 27 both ways.
So not everyone they drop off,
half.
And also not everyone they drop off, they can have room to bring back.
No, exactly. So the problem they've got now is it's basically gone from a half-hour service to an hourly service, which might be okay at some times of the day or on a Sunday, but rush hour. And the problem we've got is there's children. I didn't know that this was such a big issue, because whenever I've applied to schools, we've just about got in at like less than a mile away. But there are actually people in Northfield and Longbridge who are at schools in Bromsgrove and Rubery as well. Rubery makes more sense because it's in the same district. But the problem is these kids can then get to school or get to Bromsgrove bus station for like 7:48 or something, and then they've got to wait till 9 o'clock to get to school. So they've got an hour to kill. Or they can get the bus that helpfully gets them in about 9:05. So that's at the bus station. They've still got to get to the school. So that would be late for school every day.
These weren't the kids that were throwing their trolleys off.
No, that would
with an hour to kill.
No.
But you never know. They could get in trouble in that hour if they're just hanging around.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good excuse in court, would it?
Not at all. But this is
horrible.
And
why did you throw trolleys down there? Well, that was because
there were no buses.
Because there was no buses.
But no good can come of this. It's
no
horrible.
Good can come of this. Now, there has been movement. The S45, which is a school service, has been adjusted, and it now goes from Alvechurch to Bark Green and takes in a bit of Rednall and a bit of Rubery, but it still leaves a problem for the Northfield and Longbridge children. Talks are ongoing, apparently. This is, as I say, this is the biggest response we've had to one issue for years. More than 2,000 words worth of letters. And if you have sent us a letter, thank you ever so much. If you still want to send us a letter, you can do so, because we are passing all your thoughts and comments onto First Worcester, because they're the ones who have the influence. They're the ones who can make the changes. I'm going to try and print out all the letters on our website, because we're not going to have, as great as the paper is, we're not going to have enough space to print all these letters. And I've had letters about other stuff as well this week, like smart motorways and other things. So I thought, I'd ask for letters on this, and I've got letters on this, but I've also got letters on
And
other
have
stuff.
you
So our letters
spoken
pages,
to First Worcester?
Spoke to First Worcester. We've got a comment from them. Their main problem is that buses were going into Birmingham, and that main bit by where the Dome used to be, Smallbrook
The
Queensway, the Dome, that then didn't have a dome, and then it used to
By
be
the
brilliant when it was
Institute
started.
now,
Yeah,
it's
I
the
mean, it
Institute.
used to be brilliant when that. I digress, but when it had the actual dome, you remember the Crystal Maze? It looked like that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Without the glassing. But we digress.
I went to an event there a few weeks ago to see the Cult play.
Ah,
Yeah.
were they good?
They were really good. My friend's dating the guitarist.
Oh, there we are.
So I felt
Claim
like
to
a real
fame. There you
rock
are.
groupie.
Yeah, you're backstage pass, a bit like Wayne's World. So we go, when you go that bit there, that right turn going up towards New Street Station and Grand Central, as I like to call it these days, that's always chock-a-block. So what happens is the 144 goes up there, it's got to come back down that way, and then of course by the time it comes on its journey back, it's well delayed. It's I've waited for the 144 in the morning to get to Bromsgrove, and I've got there for 20 past, and it hasn't come until like 8:45, 9 o'clock. So I can kind of see their reasoning there that they don't want to run so many buses into Birmingham. The other thing is the pricing structure. Apparently, somebody was saying this. I don't know how true this is set by National Express West Midlands, and obviously from once you get to Longbridge, you've got loads of buses that go along there. You've got these 63. I haven't caught a bus that way for a long time, but you get loads of buses going along there. So the problem is the gap between Rubery and Longbridge, and that's just not really being serviced properly. So people are asking first if they wouldn't mind just doing the 144, maybe taking it through Longbridge, Northfield, and then maybe turning it back round, because I can't imagine there'd be anyone who would get a place in a Bromsgrove school, not Bromsgrove school, but a Bromsgrove school from Selly Oak, because you just wouldn't get a catchment area like that. I can't think for a minute, but Northfield Longbridge is obviously happening, so if they can just extend that route, just even at morning and night, they don't have to do it. They extend the route to Northfield and then whip it round. I'm not sure where they'd turn it round, but I'm sure they can find a way, and then bring it back. A lot of parents are saying that would be a great solution, and other people are saying it's difficult for them to get to work now before 9 unless they want to be there an hour early, like the kids. Some people are going to have to change their work hours to start either earlier or later, because a lot of people, when they come out of work as well, they've got another hour. If they missed the last one, they've got another hourly wait. Some people say some of their buses are going to break down. Buses are going to get caught in, and if that happens in an hourly service, you've then got 2 hours worth of passengers on the same bus.
annoying.
Well, you won't know whether that will just go past. Other criticisms have been that the Salt Road route as a tourist destination wasn't marketed properly, because they did that 18 months ago. They said, we're going to market the Salt Road, because the road from Birmingham to Worcester, which this bus does, was the great road where the salt from Droitwich was taken to the big cities and then it was distributed. Somebody pointed out that the 11 bus in Birmingham, which is famous, well famous, because I think it's the longest orbital route in Europe, possibly the world.
You know all these amazing facts, Tristan.
So that goes all the way around Birmingham, and you could just literally sit on that on the same stop, and it'll just literally go
Never get
round,
off.
and you could just go. There's an inner one and an outer one, and that's got its own guidebook. So they're saying, why don't you do that for the Salt Road? Because obviously you've got Bromsgrove with the now making history. You could put a bit about that. Obviously Worcester's got, I don't know much about Worcester. Worcester's got stuff going on. You've got Droitwich with all its salt history and its heritage. And you've got, like the Black Cross, that's in Bromsgrove. That was a coaching in, wasn't it, along that route. So there's loads of history you could put in, and then you could market it. So I do accept that. They probably wouldn't accept that. But they could market that better to get more, because I've met people from inner city Birmingham areas, and to get to Droitwich, they come to Droitwich and they're like, wow, or Bromsgrove. And I'm not patronising people when I say that, but it is a beautiful town, and you've got the canal network, and you've got the salt heritage, and you've got beautiful restaurants and pubs and shops and stuff. And people would spend a day in Droitwich if you live in Birmingham
Worcester
and stuff, and Worcester,
that whole stretch.
and Bromsgrove as well. So I don't know why they don't market like that, but obviously the bus company, somebody else also said that probably because Worcester to Bromsgrove is their core passenger base. Other people have said they like to get the 144 above the 63 and stuff because their buses are cleaner. And we must say we haven't verified that, just in case National Express West Midlands are listening. But they claim that.
But what are Worcester First saying? What is their excuse? Why aren't they making all this happen?
So they're saying that obviously it is going to be down to financial reasons. I thought it was subsidised, but apparently it's not. It's not subsidised. It is probably more economical for them to do Bromsgrove to Worcester than go from Worcester to Bromsgrove. And this is what they have said. They said when they actually get to probably like Longbridge and Northfield, people aren't necessarily going to get on the amount of ticket sales they probably get from there to Birmingham is probably not very high because they've already got alternative routes that they're used to getting. Plus, the other thing about First Worcester is the 144 has limited stops. So people like that because you can get into town quicker. Town, when I say town, I mean Birmingham City Centre. But obviously that probably doesn't pay them to go that stretch of the route.
Got you.
So, but it could pay them to go to Northfield, which is another, 2 miles from Rubery or what have you, if that.
They're going to have to sort it out,
they could do that. I mean, we're grateful that they did do the S45 and they have had some praise for that and acting quickly on that. But please, our readers are saying just change this 144, just extend it a little bit to Northfield and it'll make such a difference to so many people. A lot of people have said they're going to end up driving. Defeats the object of the whole climate thing we've just been discussing. And as I say, thanks for all your letters. They've all been passed on to First, and I'll continue to do that. We will be printing as many as we can in the paper, and I'll try and print them all online as well, although it's not really reader-friendly online because you're just scrolling through, aren't you? But if you're on public transport, you might be on the 144, or if you're waiting for the next 144, which is now an hour, you've got time to read these letters. But don't forget, if you want to get in touch, editor at bromsgrovestandard.co.uk, editor at droitwichstandard.uk. .co.uk. Yeah.
Well, thank goodness we have you there, Tristan, to sort all these things out.
Well, hopefully we're going to get this. This could be our first victory of 2020, couldn't it? Although I think we had one the other week, which I can't remember. But there you go. So that brings us to the end of the news. Let's have a look at the sports. It wasn't a good Saturday for sporting. They lost 3-0 at home to Colville.
No, we need Jason Cowley back.
He's just been loaned out.
Has he?
He's just been loaned out to Solihull Moors.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. But to be fair, you can't really say that because they got 7 goals against Redditch the week before, and then I think they've won 8-1 3 times this season.
But we were winning everything.
Jason Cowley, he is a talented player. It would be nice to see him back at the Victoria Ground. But then you'd have to drop someone then.
Yeah, who's our big star now?
I think there's more of a shared element now.
Okay.
You've got like Rich Gregory and you obviously got the new strikers, and it's been, that's how you want it really, because if you do rely on one person, I'm not saying Bromsgrove Sporting did rely on one person because they wouldn't be where they were relying on one person, but if you do rely on one person, then if that person gets injured, oh my God, there's a crisis on there. So Bromsgrove Sporting, they're still doing well, they're still top of the table. They're 1 point above Tamworth. Tamworth have got 3 games in hand though, so technically if they won them, but to be fair, I mean Bromsgrove was just, when we had them on the podcast, they were saying this could be just a consolidation season and they just wanted to make sure they stayed in this division. Well, they're top of the league, so they could, if they didn't go through automatically, they could always go through the playoffs. I'm sure a few Rowsler fans wouldn't want the heart-stopping moments that we had last summer. But it all ended on a good note, didn't it? So we could do that again. But that would be 4 promotions in a row, which would be amazing. And there'd only be a couple of divisions off the real Football League then. So
wow.
Crazy. What we must say about Bromsgrove Sporting, though, is a big shout-out to the fans. They had 1,075 fans there last Saturday. Again, they were top with regard to that level of football. They get the most fans for that level. And somebody has posted on Twitter, for the 4 home games in 2020, 3 of the games were over 1,000 fans. And the other one, which was Redditch, on a Tuesday night, a cold Tuesday night in January, 944.
Wow.
So they've averaged easily over 1,000 fans, which is amazing for this level of football to get these people. So well done to all the supporters who are getting behind them, and they will continue to do so. And hopefully, you never know, it could be at least a playoff place, maybe even top of the table if things go our way at the end of the season. This Saturday, Banbury United, 8th in the league, Sporting travel there on Saturday. So for the fans who are travelling, that's obviously better than, I can't remember where it is, St Ives, is it, or somewhere. They've got somewhere in Cornwall, or I can't remember, or was it East Anglia? One of the teams is miles away. So good luck to the Rouslers there. Droitwich, Wellington Amateurs versus Droitwich. It was top of the table clash. Second versus first. It ended 3-3.
Oh.
It was away though for Droitwich, so they'll be probably feeling happier. Connor Collins opened the scoring for the Saltmen. The hosts then scored 2 and led 2-1 at half time. Alex Dugmore got Droitwich back level at 2-2. James Lemon, he was sharp as ever. He got a Spa 3-2 up. Never tire of that pun. And it's never looked enough though. This is what the reporter said, who was down there. And he said the hosts equalised to make it 3-3 at full time. Probably a fair result on reflection. This Saturday, Droitwich have a week off. They'll be wanting to get... You see, Droitwich in the opposite situation to Bromsgrove. They've got 3 games in hand. They're second and 1 point behind, so they are exactly in the opposite situation to Bromsgrove. So whereas Tamworth are 1 point behind with 3 games in hand, Droitwich are 2. So if Droitwich win their 3 games in hand, they will go top by 8 points. So that'll be in a good position. And we all, as we say every week, Droitwich has got this new stadia pitch in the pipeline, so they need a nice level of football. Droitwich have only played 14 games this season, so a week off is probably not what they want this week, because they had that unlucky one the other week, didn't they, with the floodlight failure, and that to be abandoned. They were winning 2-1, and the floodlight failure, and that to abandon it with 10 minutes to go.
Who do you support, Tristan, or do you have to be diplomatic and support them all?
I do look out more for Bromsgrove and Droitwich. I'm a Birmingham City fan for my sins, but I do on a Saturday. If I'm at home, I'll be looking at the Blues score or listening to the Blues, and then I'll also have Twitter on I'll be scanning through Twitter for the Bromsgrove and the Droitwich scores.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I'll have to get down there. I should take Chloe down actually, because I took Chloe down Birmingham City and she's been there 4 times. And she's seen straight wins. So
she might be the lucky.
So yeah, could get her down
mascot.
the Blues and get her down the Sporting if it's looking towards the end of the season. But good luck to Droitwich and Bromsgrove this weekend in the football. And that's all we've got time for the news and sports. Thank you ever so much for listening. We're going to hopefully have a guest next week. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch about anything you've heard on here, email editor@bromsgrovestandard.co.uk, editor@droitwichstandard.co.uk. Remember, daily updates on our websites, Bromsgrove Standard and droitwichstandard.co.uk. And also, where is the conversation happening, I hear you say? Well, it's on our social media pages, so make sure you sign up to those as well. Like us or follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and we're on Instagram as well. So there's no excuse. You'll get every time there's stories updated on the websites, they always go to our social media pages, so they'll appear in your little news feeds. So when you're having a little break from that hard 24/7 working week, you can always have a look at what's going on in your local area. All that's left to say is have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time.